Do you have any questions for me?
No,
Alright.
just that I've been trying to keep in mind what you're telling me
And
about
how's
Reinhardt.
okay, and how's that going?
Good. It's just that I'm so weird. Like sometimes I'm good, some other times I completely forget everything and I just go out of pilot. So I'm trying to
Yeah.
remember to not do that.
And that's part of, that's consistency right there, right? That's just a lack of consistency. So you're good half the time and then you're bad the other half of the time. That just
Yeah.
means that you have to keep practicing at it until you're able to be good most of the time, right? Never gonna be perfect, but you can just get that to go higher and higher and higher. So, we'll keep practicing at it, keep pointing out things, and then you'll hopefully be able to one day be consistent, right? So we'll just go ahead and get it started then here. Slight delay out of spawn, but
It was so bad.
yeah, usually you just want to try to get out of spawn as early as possible, but not a horrendous mistake.
Oh.
Very nice, we saw Lucio, we got a kill. Okay. Alright, so right now we have a Genji behind us. I'm trying to think. So we maybe could. Right now, I just probably like to see us doing something besides just kind of chilling in place. So either we could be running back to Peel for our baby diva and kill the Genji, or we could have been pushing more so either on the hog or to try to get past the hog, right? Like, so for example, Anna's in this right room right now, who that'd probably be a pretty easy character to push. Like, if we see that she's there, we can go run forwards and get her pretty easily, right? Because she's just right next to us pretty much, which is what we do here, so that's good.
Oh, I remember that.
All right, so yeah, there we did the kind of a wraparound, whereas we probably could have, I think, so we knew that she was in there, right? Let's rewatch this. So we know that she's in there, right? We hear, we hear her sleep, right? We're going in this right room. We probably could just walk through here, and then that just get us to her much faster. Is a big option, right? There. Then besides that, maybe like when we turn this corner, instead of running at her, we could charge at her, and this could get us like one-shot potential rather than us needing to swing on her a bunch of times, right? And then finally, there we also probably should look to try to block the purple, as that can, the big thing there is that we just have the potential to get healed up, and then that's just extra damage on us. All right, so yeah, there are just a couple things that we could have been more efficient with. All right, so we're coming back. We have the shatter up. Yeah, I'm just trying to.
I remember. I didn't use my shatter almost in this game. I don't know why.
Yeah. That's definitely gonna be a big one then, right?
Yeah, I kept thinking about it, but I guess that made it worse.
Yeah, so you just want to make sure we're using it. So like here, for example, I think we actually see like a couple opportunities. Like right here, there's actually 3 people over here who we can just turn the corner and shatter 3 people, right? That's a very solid option right there. Even if we don't, right here in front of us are a couple people as well. So like there's right there as well. There's a Sigma and a never mind. Sigma dropped on the other side. All right. Let's see. In front of us, we have Lucio and Genji, who we can shatter, right? So just a bunch of different options here. Now we get 2 people. Probably can be getting aggressive, or we're kind of just sitting in place. Probably like to see us pushing forwards, right? We're at an advantage. Remember that we're getting aggressive with advantages, and we're going and pushing in further when we're up people. So here we're up 2 people. That's a pretty significant advantage, and we want to be pressing that advantage, but we're kind of just sitting still, right? More opportunities to shatter. Like if we just push forward slightly, this could potentially be like a 4-man shatter, right? If we just push forwards a little bit. But again, we're kind of sitting in place. All right. Yep. So most of the biggest problem so far is that we're just kind of sitting there, right, and existing. Whereas we've gone over Reinhardt before, right? We've gone over him last time, the time before that, and then I think maybe like okay. Just going through. Okay, so like 2 or 3 times, right? We've gone over Reinhardt, so we definitely had this conversation multiple times where Reinhardt likes to do things. He wants to be going and brawling, and not just Reinhardt, but every character in the game wants to be going and doing things. And how Reinhardt does things is he needs to get on top of people to swing with his hammer and do damage and get kills. So we want to make sure we're actually advancing to get next to people, because that's how Reinhardt as a character likes to play. Whereas so far we've just kind of been sitting still, which is kind of playing into how Sigma wants to play on the enemy team, right? So this is putting us at the disadvantage and putting their Sigma at the advantage, and their team comp at the advantage as well, right? Like if we compare the two team compositions as well, that also just our entire team composition is kind of off. Did we ever go over team compositions at all?
No,
No? Okay,
not
so
yet.
maybe that's something we can go over here as well, because this also dictates how fast you're playing. So let me pull this up real quick and just give to you. All right, so if you take a look at Discord real quick, I just sent you a picture, right? So this goes over all the team comps in the game. So you're relatively new, yes. So that means that all. Are you familiar with any of these yet?
Uh,
Dive, brawler, spam.
um, not. I'm not sure what that means.
Yeah,
Sorry.
so that's fine. So I'll just go ahead and explain them. So a dive composition. So in this game, right, there are a couple different team compositions. So when you have a bunch of characters together, they form a team composition because they work well with each other. So a dive composition is a bunch of characters who move very, very fast, such as characters like Winston, Diva, Wrecking Ball. Those would be the tanks for dive. Then for DPS, you would have like Tracer, Genji, Doomfist, Echo, Pharah, right? A bunch of fast characters you can get around super easily, right? And then supports you'd have like Lucio, Zen, Ana, right? And Mercy as well, right? Those would kind of be the supports with a dive. So a dive composition kind of just plays kind of standardly. Their playstyle is a standard playstyle, the same as we've discussed in the past. So you start off, you can dive from far away to close because they all have movement abilities, and then pacing wise, you start out slow, right? And then as you get kills and as you get opportunities and as you get ultimates, then you can get faster and faster and faster, which is pretty much how every comp plays at a base level, right? So they're just kind of standard. Now, brawl and spam is where it gets very interesting. So a brawl composition is close range characters. So it's characters that are basically characters like Reinhardt, Zarya, characters like Reaper, Mei, and Lucio, Moira, right? It's all the characters that play super close to people, and they are very close range characters. And then because they play at a close range, they want to run. They want to play fast as well, right? And then this is exemplified because of their opposite. So why don't I talk about spam real quick before I go more in depth on that? So spam, they are the exact opposite of brawl. A spam would be something like Sigma, Roadhog, Orisa, long-ranged characters. You also on top of that you have like Echo, Pharah, Hanzo, any snipers, long-ranged DPS, and then within supports you'd have like Zenyatta and Baptiste and Mercy, right? So those are spam characters. So spam and brawl are exact opposites. So spam, because they're long range characters, because they can all shoot you from super far away, they want to approach the fight very slowly, because the slower the fight goes, the more time they have to shoot you. Whereas brawl, they can't shoot you from a distance. So the slower the fight goes, the less damage they're doing, whereas the faster the fight goes, the more damage they're doing because they kind of get on top of you. So that's the difference between the two. Brawl is fast and close, spam is far and slow. And then finally, you have hybrid, which is really just a mix of them. It's when you don't really have anything in particular. So if you have like 3 characters of a particular, or sorry, 4 characters of a particular comp, it is that composition. So if you have 4 brawl characters, it is a brawl comp. But if you have like 3 brawl characters and then 2 spam characters and 1 dive character, it's really a whole lot of nothing. It's just a hybrid. So in the case of hybrid compositions, everyone's really just playing for their own thing. It's a really deathmatchy type of playstyle where everyone's just playing on their own and their own playstyles, and you'll be playing a little bit more split in how you're positioning and whatnot. So that's the composition. So let's take that back and look at the game we're in now, right?
Okay.
So if you were to look at our current team comp on the left side, team one, right? What composition would our team be?
Mm, I feel like Lucio and Diva. I guess maybe Dive.
This one's a little bit of a hard one because then this is where you get into the fact that certain characters aren't just one. It don't just fit into one category. So Lucio is, yes, can work in a dive, but is much more powerful as a brawl character. So Lucio is mainly a brawl character with a with who so basically if you can kind of categorize each character as like they're really good at something, they're okay at something, and they're not good at something, right? So Lucio is really good at brawl, is okay in dive, and then is not good in spam. So we can walk through all the characters here. McCree is probably one of the most flexible characters at the moment, so he is okay in pretty much all 3. He's okay, and he's probably say he's worst in a dive, right? But he's pretty good in a brawl, and he's pretty good in a spam. Reinhardt is bad in a spam, bad in a dive, and he's good in a brawl. So now we have 2 brawl characters, right? Baptiste is a pretty good spam, pretty good brawl, bad dive, right? So Baptiste again is another brawl mixed in there, right? So far we have two spam, 3 brawl, right? Junkrat is pretty good spam, pretty good brawl, right? So again, 3 spam, four brawl, right? No, not really great with dive. Lucio okay with dive, pretty good brawl. Okay, so now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 brawl characters, right, and 3 spam characters. If we're kind of splitting them in half, right, and then Diva is a pretty good dive character and a pretty good brawl character, and then is maybe okay in a spam, right? So that's how they all diverse up. So now that I've kind of simplified that a little bit, do you maybe see a pattern there? What would you say the comp is now?
Bro, definitely.
Yeah, so they're a brawl comp. Yep. So that means that on our team composition, we can play maybe a little bit spammy because we have some spammy elements in it. But for the most part, we are a brawl composition. So we as a team like to play fast and we like to play close. And if we're not playing fast and close, then that means that we are fundamentally going against the principle, like the core principle of how our team comp should be played, right? So
Okay.
same thing with team comp. Same thing with our character. Is Reinhardt wants to play fast and close. Our team comp wants to play fast and close, and therefore we should be getting fast and close. But so far we're playing slow and we're playing far, right? So we're playing the opposite of how we should be playing. Now, just to exemplify this point more, looking at the enemy team composition, right? I'll walk you through some of these characters. Echo is a pretty good spam character, pretty good dive character, pretty terrible brawl character, or maybe I'd say like okay brawl character. Not very good in brawl though. Ana is pretty flexible. She is pretty good She's probably best in a brawl, second best in a dive, and then third best in a spam. Roadhog, best in a spam, second best in a brawl, and then okay with a dive, right? And then a Genji is again like a little bit flexible with each of them. Probably is bad in a spam, right? Genji's bad in a spam. He's good in a brawl, and then he's really good with a dive. Lucio, we've already discussed him, right? He's a really good brawl, okay dive. Sigma is a spam character, is a really good spam, medium brawl, he's a little bit of a brawl, and then not really anything dive, right? So that's how their team comp splits up. Do they would you say that they're any particular composition?
Uh, mm, because four of them are spam.
4 of them are spam. Okay, so we have Hog who's spam, we have Sigma who's spam, Echo who's spam. I wouldn't really say Ana, Lucio, or Genji are spam. And then therefore, I would probably say that this more looks like a hybrid comp, right? Rather than I wouldn't really call it a spam comp. They have probably the heaviest element of their comp is spam, and hybrid does play kind of like a spam because in a lot of times in spam comps you play kind of split up. In the spam comps and you play far away, which hybrids are also going to kind of mimic that. So I probably say it's in between a spam and a hybrid. So far from all this information that we've accumulated, we understand that team compositions dictate playstyle. When we're on a different team comp, we're playing differently. When they're on a different team comp, again, we're playing differently. So therefore, when we pay attention to the team compositions here, we should be playing more aggressive, going in fast, because that's how our team comp wants to be played. So that's something that it seems like a ton of information, right? It seems like it's a ton to walk through. It's not going to be once you kind of understand, once you understand how the characters, like what each character is, then you can kind of fit them in a lot faster. So instead of thinking, about how Echo is a spam and a dive character, you can just think, that'll just kind of come naturally, and you only now have to think about 6 characters. So again, like with most things, it seems complicated for the moment. As you practice at it, it will get less complicated and you'll kind of get better at it. So just, my recommendation would be at the very beginning of each round of every game is pay attention to team compositions, right? Because that's just dictating your play style and how you should be playing. So that's just really good information to pay attention to. That makes sense.
Sorry. Yeah.
Hmm?
Can you repeat what Anna is again?
Yeah, Anna's a pretty flexible character. She works, I probably say, best with brawl, but only by a little bit. And then she's also really good with a dive as well. And then she's probably worst in a spam, but still works okay in a spam.
Okay, because I always thought that she stayed at the back and healed.
Yeah.
But I guess
So
makes sense.
she Anna as a character, and that's getting into a completely different character that we're not going over. But Anna as a character doesn't like to sit back and snipe. A lot of times she likes to play kind of a close to mid range, specifically so that she can land abilities. But yeah, she pairs really well with Brawl because of her nade, which can hit everybody who's grouped up. And she also heals she has a lot of burst healing, which Brawl requires. And then her Nano Boost also pairs really well. And just her as a character pairs with like a character like Reinhardt, Reinhardt's basically like a staple of Brawl. Like if you're running Brawl, you're pretty much, you like almost certainly are going to be on a Reinhardt, right? So she pairs well with Reinhardt. Right, so that'll make sense, yeah?
Yeah.
Alright. So, yep, just kind of sitting around, shielding. Okay, here we're getting a little bit aggro. And then again, we're just kind of sitting around, shielding. And then notice again as well that we're not really giving our shield very much time to recharge throughout all of this. So here it's sitting at 700. I imagine in the past we've talked about like the specific things that you need to look to be shielding, right? You shield for abilities, ults. We talked about all that stuff, right?
Yeah.
So those things. At the moment, there's not really a lot that we could be shielding here. No one's low. We're not particularly blocking any abilities or ultimates besides like the hog ult. But what is that? That's not going to kill us here. We're not in danger of that. So we're not really shielding anything in particular at the moment, which just means that a lot of it this goes wasted, and we just hold it up, and we put down, and then we hold it back up. And we're holding it up, right? So we're just kind of wasting it, whereas that could all be time where we're regenning it, and then let's say we just plopped it down when it wasn't needed. Well, now we could almost probably, by the point we're at right now, we could probably be almost full on it again, right? We could probably almost have our shield back. and then we put it down, and then we're putting it back up, and then we just keep putting it down, putting it up, putting it down, putting it up, and then it never gets time to recharge, right? So we'd probably be much better off if we let it recharge, and then here we let it recharge for a little bit, and then we put it back up immediately, right? So we put it back up here, and then now it's going down again. So we just never give it really, never really give it time to regenerate, right? It's gonna be really hard to push them with like 600 shield, right? Because they're just gonna melt that and then melt us, right? They're just gonna kill us. But so preferably when we are pushing in is we're pushing in when we have full shield. So we want to regenerate preferably for when we're higher up on our shield. Right. Again, just kind of held shatter there for like a solid like minute and a half, right? So I think, yeah, I mean, which is something you said at the very beginning, right? We just held on the shatter a lot.
Yeah, I don't know why. I was doing my head with the shatter, so
Yeah.
I guess I was thinking about it too much and didn't really do it.
Okay. Very nice. Okay, Anna's in that right room. That is someone who we could be pushing at the moment. Alright, we saw her walk over there. Again, at the moment we just want to be pushing at something, going in and swinging at something. We're kind of just chilling in place. Right, we just want to be going and getting aggressive. Okay, right in front of us, we just, walk slightly forward to the right, 3-man shatter, right, just throwing out so many options here in which we could be landing shatters, right, we're just waiting for people to clump up, and then we're going for it, right, like right here we could have shattered, and then that would be, oh, I mean, we got a 2-man bomb anyways, but, I mean, we could have also shattered them, like, into the bomb to make sure they couldn't escape, right, is another option. That would have made it, like, a 4-man bomb, if we got that. Yeah, get super aggressive, insanely aggressive. Like we just push super hard. Right now it's a 1, 2, 3, 4. Wait, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 people versus half HP Genji, half HP Lucio, 1 Echo. So it's a 6v3. We've talked about this before. That is a 1 fight at that point, right? You guys have won this fight. If you've won the fight, there's no need to be afraid. Right now we could just charge in after this Genji, try to clean up these kills, go like 100%, like probably say like 90% aggressive, right? Just go straight up into them, but we're just kind of just sitting back, and then now we're slowly pushing forwards, right? We're taking that space. It's just kind of slow there. We want to be pushing forwards and getting these kills. There's an annoying fire strike that's bugged there. Alright, let's rewind for that for half a second and look at this. So, let's see, when we push in, do we have teammates? We have Junkai who's behind us, Lucio's up top, 2 people sitting back. So right now it just like looks like our team's slightly spread out, so we might want to just be wary because we don't have teammates directly with us. Here we do go for a big shatter, but we only get 1 person and then it gets shielded. So a really easy way to get past Sigma shield, right, is to just wait till he plops it up, right? After he puts his shield up, he has a delay before he can put another one back up, right? So what we can do is either we wait till he puts it up or wait till he takes it down, right? That's when we go. So if he just puts it up, right, what we can do is just walk past it. So let's say we walk past it and we just go to right here. Well, now if Sigma tries to drop it and then put it back up, that takes like 3 seconds to do, in which case he will not be able to do it in time before you shatter. If he just took it down recently, so let's say he has it up and then he just takes it down, again, he has a 2-second delay before he's able to put it back up. So that's 2 seconds where you could be shattering. Don't want to just shatter while he has his shield in his inventory though, because that's the only way he can block it. Okay, and then there we kind of get aggressive off of the shatter even when the shatter doesn't get much, and then notice how we're just kind of out of line of sight of our whole team, so we're just a little too aggressive in this instance. We're basically right now 1v4ing, right, because it's 1, 2, 3, 4 versus 1 person, and then really the Junkrat could be counted as half a person there, right? So we just got too overly aggressive, whereas once we miss that shatter, might be better off to just back up a little bit, maybe hold the corner, try to hold them on the corner for as long as possible, right? Just different options to be throwing out there.
Bad guy.
Oh, there. Just make sure you're stepping on point, right? We don't want to just give them a free cap. So because just think about it this way, um, you know, we probably could be getting it up to like 99% here if we just stayed on point longer and just stalled it out longer. So there, we probably could have just stepped on the point and stopped them from capping because now this goes from it being a stall to them having won that fight, right? And then we need to win the next one, right? So like us coming back in here, we're coming back in with only half a team. If our plan isn't to stall and our plan is to win the fight, that's very unreasonable, right? We can't really win this fight. It's a 6v3, and then maybe they're getting like 1, 2, or we're getting 2 players back soon. But in any case, we're walking into a lost fight at the moment, and our goal should really only be to stall. In which case, we just got off the point, right? Let's talk about let's talk about our strengths and weaknesses real quick. I think so far it's been pretty apparent, right? One of the biggest thing has been I guess we can just go down the list. I don't think we have to go specifically go through everything, but biggest one being aggression, and then I guess mixed in with that like awareness, right? Just because those two go together. Paying attention to the kill feed, paying attention to all of the things that go into whether or not you're winning or losing, right? Which team has more health? Which team has better positioning? Which team has more ults? Which team has more abilities, right? Paying attention to all those things so we know when to get aggressive and when to play passive. On from that awareness of like let's see what were some other things. Honestly, I don't think we've talked about much more awareness, so I think the main one there is just aggression, right? And then awareness just kind of gets paired with it. Number 2 is coming in probably at ult usage, mainly just because we held on to it for a long while, and then one time I use it, it gets mainly blocked besides hitting one person, right? Number 3 is probably going to be coming in at trying to think, probably coming in at your ability usage, right? Mainly with the shield management. Charges have been looking pretty fine, though maybe I'd say go for slightly more charges during fights rather than just only using it for mobility to get back, though it is really good that we're using it to get back to fights. And then Fire Strike has actually been looking very solid, so no problems with your Fire Strike so far. And then finally, number 4 is positioning. Now, with positioning, really the only thing with positioning has been just the fact that we're not near people, we're playing at a far range, and then that range is kind of the problem, which is pretty important, but at the same time, that's also kind of part of aggression, is that we're at that range because we're playing too passive. So that's why it's kind of at the bottom there. So overall, the rest of positioning's been looking pretty solid. So that's just kind of where we're standing on everything. Then, of course, Reinhardt doesn't require mechanics, so that's not something on Ryan. So now we're just kind of sitting around again. Yeah, okay. So that fight was pretty much lost the second that we... I mean, like, that fight was basically going into that fight. We're going into that fight assuming that it's a lost fight, and the only goal was to buy time, right? Was to keep our time going longer, is to stall it out. But once we missed that opportunity, it's just like that was a lost fight, and we probably should have just backed out or let them kill us faster. Probably be a good idea too. Looked like it went through him. Okay, now here we're pushing in when we don't have teammates, right? So notice paying attention to our surroundings. So this is part of awareness, and then again, part of aggression. Paying attention to what is my team up to, what is the enemy team up to. So currently we have Lucio, Reinhardt, BAP versus 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6v3, right? We've talked about how to tell whether or not fights are won and lost, right? It's 1 to 2, and 1 to 2 is an advantage or a disadvantage. 2 to 3 is a won or lost fight. This is definitely a lost fight, and we're kind of walking into a fight where we've already lost it, right? That makes sense?
Yeah.
All right. Now also looks like we got a DC here, so we're not actually going to get 6 people, but we can at least group up with 5 people instead of walking in with 3 people.
Come out and face me. Let them up. Barrier destroyed.
And then once again, we're just kind of sitting there and just letting them letting them just break our shield and melt it. We're just kind of sitting and sitting. Right, and sitting, and then just letting them shoot our shield, and then we fire strike, and we're sitting, and letting them break our shield. So we're just kind of soaking up meaningless spam damage that's not really doing anything for us. But we could just, if we're just gonna sit here and maybe we're just sitting there to wait for our Baptiste to come back, maybe we can just get around the corner, and then now they can't actually see us and shoot at us. Right, is an option here. We don't have to just sit there and let them spam our shields. Right.
Barrier destroyed. I feel like a new man.
Unfortunate. All right.
Yeah.
And looks like we actually got some kills somehow.
I am capturing the objective. Try and stop. This will really
Yeah, good decision. Good job watching your health there. Oh no, we were like a second. So there we just let go of our hammer swing, and then that reset it. So notice we were on top of him. Right here, we could have just swung, and we would have hit him, and he would have died. But we let go, and it canceled, and then we never hit him. So there we could have actually gotten the kill if we just held it down.
Damn.
That's unfortunate. And then he actually booped us off, because we didn't kill him. So that one mistake was pretty massive.
Yeah.
And then that also stops us from being able to use Shatter. So that one tiny little itsy bitsy mistake of messing up a swing cost us an ultimate, a death, and a kill. Right? All three, and that's probably the tiniest mistake I've ever seen cause so much damage.
Oh no. What the hell?
Alright. Usually not too much of a purpose in taking high ground if we're just going to be running in and swinging on stuff, right? Usually it's just best to take bottom left and run at them from under here. As a Reinhardt, you don't really utilize high ground too much, and you would much prefer to run at them rather than just sitting there. As we've discussed, Reinhardt as a character and our team composition is a brawl team composition. Therefore, we want to get on top of them and not just sit there and spam. So this is kind of the wrong positioning to be at currently.
Don't worry, my friend.
Okay.
Okay, so now we drop. But again, we're just kind of taking it slow. We're just kind of sitting around. We're not really running at things. And then in that time, we've lost a player. Right, people are fighting on points, so that's good. We pinned over there. Oh, watch the sleep from the Ana. Just make sure we're shielding that.
Okay.
Get into position. I admire your efficacy.
All right. So let's rewind this. Trying to think here. So positioning wise, rather than just sitting on point after we win, usually a lot of teams prefer to come and take and hold kind of up here. So let's discuss the reason behind that. So on Reinhardt, we've discussed choke points, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've talked about like choke points. So like this right here would be a choke point. It'd be kind of like a funnel, right? Forces them to walk through this tiny little area, right? Same thing over here, kind of like a choke, kind of like a no man's land. I think we also talked about no man's land. Yeah, maybe not that one.
Yeah, we
We
talked
did. Okay,
about
we did.
both. Yeah.
Yep. So the reason why we wouldn't hold point is because point just gives them a lot of space. If we hold point, they can just kind of surround us and spam us out. And again, it just kind of gets to the point where like it works well for their comp and doesn't work really well for our comp. But if we hold closer, if we hold up here, then that means that we can stall we can actually keep them in these choke points, which will give us, we'll actually be able to utilize the chokes, whereas back here, we can't really utilize those. Like, we can't get them to come, really, we can't shoot at them while they're coming through those, and then therefore we don't really get the advantage out of it. So rather than just kind of sitting point, we might want to push forwards more towards, like, this corner, and then if we see them going left side, maybe we can meet them over here or something of that sort, rather than just sitting here. But, I mean, sitting point also isn't the most terrible option. It's better than just kind of standing in the middle of nowhere in the out in the open there.
Okay.
Bye. Alright, so now we've gotten a pick, right? We can start getting a little more aggro. Nope. I mean, like, we're playing passive again. We're just kind of sitting. We're down a player. It's just like a lot of times you don't really exist, right? We're just kind of, or I guess, sorry, a lot of times the problem is that we're only existing, right? The issue is that we're not having any impact. We're not carrying. We're not doing we're not doing our job. We're just kind of standing there, right? Which is what a lot of the gameplay is like. We're just kind of, we haven't swung on, like, if you look back on this whole fight, we haven't swung on a single thing, right? We just kind of walking around for, like, if we go back to the start of this fight here, it's been, one, whoops, I didn't mean to go back there. So, we can count through this as, okay, this is like 10 seconds now from the fight start, right? 15 seconds, 20 oh, let's, look at this. Now we're swinging on some stuff. No, he got away, right? So now we're at like 20 seconds-ish. Okay, like 25 seconds-ish. Oh, and we've completely lost track of the Zarya. So now we're swinging on stuff. Okay, so, but it was like 25 seconds into the fight, right? That we're actually finally hitting something, right? And that's the big problem here, is that's like every fight is it's taking us that long to actually be doing the one of the core parts of our kit, and that is swing on stuff, right? So we just want to make sure doing that much more often, getting in on top of them, be much more aggressive, right? Now, not too overly aggressive to where you're feeding and running into their spawn and dying all the time, but definitely more aggressive than we are playing currently. We've talked about the aggression spectrum, yes or no? So where you start out at 50% and then you adjust up and down every yeah. So just keeping in mind that, right, at the current moment, we're pretty much most of our gameplay so far has been kind of permanently at like a 20%, right? Whereas we want it to be at a 50%, and then there's been some instances where we've been at advantages where we've just kind of sat around, right? So where we should be at like 70% or 80%, we've still been at like 30%, right? And then sometimes where we should be at like 50% or 40%, like for example when we landed the shatter and missed it, right? Like that instance where maybe that probably should be an instance where should be backing up a little bit, right? That's an instance where we are running in and getting aggressive, which is the opposite of, which is the wrong time to be getting aggressive. So there's just aggression is just really out of whack. That's the big thing here, right? And that's gonna, if we fix that and get consistent on that, that's gonna probably be the biggest thing towards getting you better, right?
Yeah. I don't know what happened there.
So like in this next fight, right? Let's count how long does it take us from like kind of the time where the fight starts to where we are actually swinging on stuff, right? We can kind of count that out, maybe. Oh, we're AFKing here again. Okay, so the fight's starting now, right? They're entering point. Zarya's right next to us. So the fight starts. Okay, never mind. We're immediately swinging on stuff. But never mind. That's not a good point because they have to run the point because there's 5 seconds left, right? So maybe not the most accurate example. So here we get shot at. We are currently half HP. We get healed. Alright, we get melted really fast there. Just watch our HP while we're swinging there. We were half HP, yet we are still swinging on things. So just be careful that we're not, again, kind of over. We're right there when we're half HP. That's where we should maybe be like 30% aggressive, 20% aggressive, right? That's where we tone it down. But then we're having like that neutral 50% still, right? We're being too aggressive in that scenario, right? So it's just, again, it's not that you're always too passive. It's just that in most situations you're too passive, and then in some situations you're too aggressive, right?
Yeah.
Form up here.
Do we have our team check? No team, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 versus one person. Maybe we can count Junkrat as a half person, right? So lost fight that we're just walking back into, so pay attention. You can see that your teammates dying in kill feed. You can see them dead in chat. You can, or sorry, not chat, in tab. You can see that there's nobody there through the walls. You can see your teammates through walls. You can look behind you to check where your team is and see that they're not with you. Lots of different ways to check this, and we want to make sure we're not running in when we don't have teammates. This is, again, awareness thing, right? Is that we're making a big mistake off of a lack of awareness.
Yeah. Yeah, that was dumb.
All right, so now we got now we can go back in, right? Because we see, okay, we got some teammates through the walls, right? We can see we got Lucio, Monkey, Moria in there, Junkrat and McCree to the right, so they're walking back in with us. We just gotta pick. So this is a situation where now we can go back in, right? Because we have teammates in there. In fact, we have won this fight now. Yep. Oh, Monkey just jumped off the map. Good job. All right.
Get behind me.
Whoops, I didn't mean to skip there. Oh.
Get behind me.
Very nice. All right, so this fight, that's, that was pretty good. We got aggressive. We went and did stuff. So that's looking. This is looking a lot more solid. Okay, this is so far the best fight we've had out of this entire game. Really well played. We came in, we immediately got aggressive, right? We didn't sit around for 20 seconds, right? Notice how the first thing we did was we pushed forwards and took space, right? We come into this fight and we just walk in, right? We didn't just sit around. We didn't, whereas all the other fights so far we've seen, what the alternative would be that we'd come into this corner and we'd sit here and shield for 20 seconds, right? Instead, we walked forwards to their side. We saw the Reaper, we shielded, that's good. We swung in and swung on Reaper. Here we got 3 kills along with extra damage as well, right? 3 kills, and we also did more damage than we've pretty much done. Like, this is the most damage we've done in a fight so far, right? Really, this is really well played, and I just want to show you that, like, you see the impact when we're doing it correctly versus when we're not doing it correctly, right? You can see how in the other fights we didn't get any impact. We sat around and didn't do anything, and then now that we see what positive aggression looks like, now we see all the impact that's coming along with it, right? We're even on fire here, right?
Yeah.
So really well played there.
I guess this is what I mean with inconsistent a lot of the time, even in that. in the same games. I don't know why.
Yep. Takes work, takes practice, not gonna come immediately, right?
Don't worry, my friends. I am your shield.
Push off. Allow me to repair the damage.
Okay. Here, just soaking up a ton of just spam damage here, probably not needed. That just puts it pretty low. Massive shatter. Wonderful. No! Okay. We
I know.
we've talked about that, yeah, not charging into shatters like that. Yeah, so just as a reminder, you can charge, like, let's say we shattered and like there's a guy like all the way over here and like that was the only person and you're trying to catch up to them. Go ahead and charge to reach them in time. Or let's say you've gone in and you swung on these guys and you've killed them and then there's just a tank left right before he wakes up, then you can charge. But we do not want to charge immediately because what's going to happen is we're just gonna fling everyone all over the place and we're only going to get like one kill out of this. Whereas if
Yeah.
you just walk forwards and swing, you can probably be hitting 3 or 4 of these guys at the exact same time with like 3 swings, which would kill both of the supports and get a ton of damage in group wise, right? So it'd be killing more people, getting in more damage than one single charge would be. And on top of that, this charge is also not just, it also means that our team's going to be, I mean, our team's not next to us here, but I mean, if we charge, it doesn't let our team shoot at them. Whereas if they're all on the ground, then our team can actually shoot at them and help us, right? So here, charging is not the play to make because just watch this. They're all gonna go flying,
Yeah.
right?
I keep doing that even though I know I shouldn't. I don't know why. It's like an instinct, and while I'm charging, I'm like, why did I do that?
Yeah.
It's horrible.
All right.
I was so mad when that happened. I remember.
All right. So we do got 3 teammates here. Yep, we're just stalling. This is fine. Maybe we can charge in the point to try to get like a pick with it. That's an option there. Oh, nice kill. Alright, so here, we watch this for half a second. So, we swing on Reaper. Right now, we're like half-ish HP. Reaper swinging on us. We're trying to get healed up. Alright, we do have supports, I believe, with, we have a Lucio here who can heal us, so we're good. We probably don't want to be approaching the Reaper because he can pretty much heal up as much damage as we're dealing to him. So we just have to be careful about running at him with the hammer. But here we just kind of inch towards him, and then and then we're 100 HP here. We should be backing up. Yeah, we kind of just keep walking towards him, and we even shift our shield so they can actually see us past it, and then we just kind of walk into him and then walk to the side. So there, we probably should have just backed up. And then that also puts us out of line of sight of the beat, unfortunately, right? So they're just walking backwards rather than walking like in towards him. Here we're charging and then ending up here. I'd probably say the longest charge area you'll be able to find is like if we wait till we're like right here and then charge, because then we have this whole long path that we can get like all along here, whereas this only covers like, this is a pretty short charge. It's probably like medium charge, so you just want to get that max charge distance so you can go as fast as possible to get back to point. So you want to charge as long as possible, even if it means waiting like a couple of seconds before you charge.
Okay, okay.
Alright. Probably want to be backing up here, right? We're coming back from spawn, right? We're walking back in. We're paying attention to how many, paying attention to kill feed, paying attention to teammates through walls. We can see teammates through walls right now, so we see, okay, we have 2 teammates alive. And then we haven't seen any of the enemy team die, so this is probably a lost fight, right? Moira dies, so now it's 1 teammate alive, but right now it is just us and Junkrat. They've won this fight. We should probably not be pushing in, right? This is where we back up. But instead, it looks like we are going to be pushing in here. unless we pull out at the last moment, right? So here we go in and contest. We're already at 99%. This doesn't do anything, right? This contesting is not getting us any percentage at all because we're already at the max percentage, right? They've won this fight, so right now we're just feeding them 100 or 500 ult charge as well as staggering ourselves so that we're not grouping up as a team. All right, so that's another big awareness one that keeps popping up. That's popped up like 3 or 4 times now. So we really want to pay attention to that and make sure we're not pushing in without our team. Because now notice how our team is pushing back in without us, and now they're at a disadvantage. And then now our McCree's dead, right? So now because we've done that, we've put our next fight where these guys are in an actual fight. We're putting them at that disadvantage, or even just flat up losing the fight because we're going in and staggering, right?
Real.
Don't worry, my friend. I have your shield.
Restore you.
Okay, so we got away with it a little bit far of a charge. Like there, we could have gotten, like, you know, we just got to be careful of that because this charge could get us slept. Which Mora kind of, like, that probably was going to get us slept, but Mora kind of yoinked it from right in front of us. This could get us bashed. This could get us shot at super. It could get us rocked. It could just, we could get melted because of how much damage they're pumping into us. This is a little bit too far of a distance. Now, like, you know, look at like the distance between here at like this Ana and the wall. This is a short charge. This charge would get you out of it instantaneously, right? Same thing here. Same thing here, right? But if we're charging like all the way across to the other side here, that's a pretty medium charge, which means that that's pretty dangerous, right? We get away with it for the most part, but we're all also out of position now. All right, so this last fight, right? Probably don't need shield hopping when there's nobody shielding at you, shooting at you. Like here, notice how we're shield hopping, but like there's nobody here to shoot at us, so just pay attention to that, right? Nobody to shield hop against. A little bit too far again. Want to go for the close charges. Pretty nuts. If we went like half a second earlier, I think we actually would have gotten like a lot more people. If we shattered like right now, we would have gotten 4 people. If we shattered right here, we would have gotten 5 people, right? So just being like an extra second faster here would be a much more massive shatter, but just because we delay it slightly, then we only get 2. Oh, but I mean, that's still 2 kills, so that's pretty good. I mean, it wasn't the worst shatter, and the shatters this round have definitely stepped it up over the last ones. Did we, in the second round, did we even use a shatter? I can't remember.
Oh, I don't remember.
I might have to go back and check that real quick. Oh snap!
Okay.
We're about. Oh, okay. Well, I completely forgot that we're reaching the end of the session. So, like 2 minutes left here.
my God.
So speed run the end here. So, you know, main points: aggression and awareness. Tons of stuff that goes into this one. If you could get this stuff down, you will see tremendous improvement. Make sure you're not running in without your team. Check to make sure your team is with you. Pay attention to where your team is. Watch kill feed. That will dictate how aggressive you get, and then also make sure you're not walking into fights when you don't have teammates, right? Make sure that you're actually going in and doing things and swinging, not just sitting still, right? Right now we're kind of sitting at like most of the time sitting at like 20% passiveness, right? We want to be at that 50% where we're actually going in and swinging on things. Get more aggressive with advantages, less aggressive with disadvantages. Number 2 comes in at, let's see, what was number 2 at? Number 2 was probably going to be ultimate usage, where, you know, it's just actually trying to think. Yeah, it's in between. I don't think we used an ultimate in the second round. Maybe I just forgot about it, but you know, we held on to ults, make sure we're not holding on to them. There were a lot of good opportunities for ults that we passed up. On top of that, you know, we had a 1-man shatter, then a big 4-man shatter, and then a 2-man shatter, right? You know, some of them were just not very big, so we're trying to get bigger shatters as well, and looking for better opportunities. So just getting our shatters down. Honestly, it's a very, very big. Shatters like aren't terrible. It goes from like aggression and awareness being very terrible to like shatters being okay. Like it's a very big step down of how much you need to work on it, right? You really need to work on the top one. Number 2 is just like you need some work on it, right? Number 3 is even less, but it still needs work, right? Still needs work is ability usage. Ability usage, just making sure we're main thing is shield usage. Make sure we're not wasting it and we're using it when it's actually needed, and we're not just spamming it up there, but we're letting it recharge. And then on top of that, the other one that needs work there is charge. Make sure we're not charging too far, but short ranges. And then finally, last one is just our positioning. Make sure we're close to people, and that's pretty much it with positioning. All right, you got any questions about anything?
Thank you. I just need to be more aware, I guess. That's the biggest thing.
Yep, probably is.